Hi, and welcome to the first day of the Archer Video Sew Along. I'm Jen, I'm the owner and founder of Grainline Studio Patterns, and I'm going to be walking you step by step through the process of sewing up our popular Archer button-up pattern. I'm wearing one of my favorite Archers right now, and I've made countless of these over the 8 years the pattern has been out. The Archer is one of my favorite Grainline patterns, and the one I probably have worn the most. Even after all this time, I still wear it constantly. It's also my favorite to teach, so I'm really excited to share these online lessons with you. Now for some backstory on the Archer pattern. I designed and drafted the Archer back in 2013 because at that time there really wasn't a pattern for a classic women's button-up shirt with a relaxed fit. Back then, there weren't that many indie sewing pattern companies, and the big companies hadn't really started releasing more current styles. So as soon as the Archer was released, it became an instant hit for us and is still one of our best-selling patterns. It's a really fun one to sew up. There are a ton of details, new skills to learn, and also just ways to express your creativity with this pattern through fabric details, buttons, thread color, all of that. So it's really one of my favorites to sew, one of my students' favorites to sew, and I'm so excited to share this with you in this sew along. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the pattern, I want to start by going over the pattern details. As I mentioned previously, the Archer is a relaxed button-up shirt. It's not fitted, but it's also not extremely oversized either. The shoulder seams will sit at the tip or just off the tip of your shoulders, and the body should fall from the bust, skimming the hips. View A, which I'm wearing, has a traditional shirt back with a pleat in the center. And view B has a cute gathered panel that sits in the small of your back and no back pleat. Both versions of the Archer have long sleeves and cuffs, though there are two interchangeable cuff options to choose from, an angled cuff or a straight cuff. The angled cuff is more often found on flannel or more casual shirts. All right, time for a trivia question. Do you know the difference between a button-up and a button-down shirt? A button-down shirt has a button at each collar point so it can be buttoned down, while a button-up shirt does not. It only buttons up the front. All right, now I'm going to run through the supplies that you'll need to create your own Archer button-up. The first thing you'll need for the sew-along is the Archer pattern. It's available in our shop, which I'll link in the video description below, along with the links to the rest of the tools and supplies mentioned in this section. We offer the Archer both in the paper and PDF format, so you can choose the pattern type that you prefer. After the pattern, you're going to need fabric. I'll be using this striped linen. You can see it has 3 different colored stripes, so that'll give us a really fun layout. But check the yardage requirements on the pattern envelope to see how much you'll need, and I'll be discussing fabric after we go through the supplies. You'll also need fusible interfacing in the amount specified on the envelope. I'll talk more about selecting your interfacing in a moment. As far as thread, I like to use a high-quality 100% polyester thread, like the ones available from Mettler or Gutermann. No matter what fabric I'm using, I use poly thread for garments. It won't shrink after you've sewn your garment, so you won't have any surprises the first time you wash it, and it's also very strong. You'll also need 9 buttons. These should be 3/8 of an inch to a 1/2 inch in diameter. I just use standard white or black shirt buttons, like the ones available in this pack from Milwaukee. Now we're going to talk about the tools you'll need to complete your Archer. You'll need pins to create your Archer. Pretty much any pins you have laying around are going to work just fine, as long as they're an appropriate size for your fabric. I'll be using these bone glass head pins, because you can get the iron close to the head of the pin without worrying about melting anything. Since this shirt is woven, a universal needle is just fine. Match the size of the needle with the fabric you're using. Thinner needles for finer fabrics, and thicker for less or more loosely woven fabric. I'll be using these Schmetz needles. They are size 70, but whatever matches your fabric is what you're going to want to use. I love my 1/4 inch patchwork foot because of the accuracy it provides. It's the foot I use the most for pretty much the bulk of my sewing, but I recommend using whatever foot that you're used to using. You may also find it helpful to have an edge stitch foot. They have a guide down the center of the foot that aligns with the edge of your fabric, and that helps you stitch a consistent distance from the edge. Just a note that as the name implies, these feet only work over the edge. I'm not much of a rotary person, as you might have learned if you watched our hemlock series, but these are the scissors I find most useful for almost every project I make. I have a pair of Weiss bent-handled scissors for cutting paper, my Ginger bent-handled shears. I use these to cut out my fabric, snip, clip, and more. I use embroidery scissors to grade my seam allowance. You can also alternately use duckbill scissors, but this is what I'm used to, and this is what's easiest for me. I also have thread snips living next to each of my machines at all times. I couldn't sew without them. Okay, I'd love to be super optimistic and say you don't need this tool, and fingers crossed none of us do, but you may need a seam ripper. I have a general blue one. This is my favorite one. There's a clover, kind of longer handled one. And then this is a really fancy wood handled one where you pull the seam ripper out and put it in. It's more ergonomic, but whatever you have laying around is just great. You'll also need a marking tool of some kind to trace out your pattern onto your fabric. I like to use this fine chalk pencil. The lead, it's mechanical, the lead comes out super fine. It's available in different colors and it's washable. You can also use something like this Clover Choco liner, but just keep in mind it comes in many different colors and these colors are not washable. So if you use them in a visible spot, they will live in your fabric potentially forever. I use a bone folder to turn my collar points. Whatever you usually use should be fine, but just keep in mind that anything too sharp can poke through your fabric, and that's a pretty difficult thing to fix. So a slightly rounded point is better. All right, now let's talk about pressing tools. The two basic ones that I highly recommend are a ham and a sleeve roll. The ham is great for pressing curved things like your collars, collar stands, cuffs, that sort of thing. The sleeve roll is going to come in handy when we're pressing the sleeve seam. So those two, I think, indispensable, should have. All right, this is the next tool that I like, but is not necessary. This is a combination clapper point press. So it's great for pressing your collars, anything pointy, you can just press right on here. And then this can be used as a clapper. And this is made by Jackson Woodworks in Indiana. It's a really nice oak, solid tool. So I do highly recommend this point press. So now I want to talk about fabrics. Now, instead of showing you a bunch of, pictures of fabric or pieces that I have folded up, I'm going to show you a bunch of archers that I've made in a variety of different fabrics so you can see potentially how yours will turn out. So let's start with the one I'm wearing. This is a thick flannel from Robert Kaufman. You can see it's soft but still a little bit rigid. It's sewed up really nice, and it's just a really great just general button-up shirt. So here we have an archer made up in a stretch linen. Yes, stretch linen does exist. This is a little bit heavier than some linen weaves, but I think it's got really great body. You can see how it moves. This has the straight back. It does wrinkle a bit, as linen will, but that doesn't bother me. This is the popover variation in a really, really soft chambray. It's cotton. You can see it really moves well. It's got pretty good drape. Again, the straight back with the pleat. So that's a soft cotton chambray. Here we have another cotton chambray. It's about the same weight, but the weave is different. It has a pleat in the back, but we did a regular box pleat on this one instead of the inverted. And this is also a really great breathable fabric. Here we have a lightweight plaid cotton shirting. This one is so lightweight, so soft. I love it. Straight back. Straight back is my favorite, you'll be able to tell. This feels great to wear. It was great to sew. So just really fine, thin cotton shirting. Here we have a crisper cotton shirting. It's a kind of classic buffalo plaid. So you can just see the difference between the two shirtings. This is more a traditional weight than the other, but you can see it still looks great. All right, here we have another shirting, but this shirting is lightly brushed. It's got a really soft hand. You can see when you move it, it's crisp, but still soft. Straight back, but regular pleat on this one. So here we have a little bit heavier cotton shirting. It's not quite a denim, but it's also not quite a chambray. Straight back. This is a great option if you want like a jean jacket look, but maybe not as heavy. A thicker chambray is perfect for that. Here we have one that is chambray on the top, cotton on the bottom. I did a little color blocking on this one. I think it turned out really cute. It was really easy to do, but that's always an option. Maybe not for your first archer, but think about that down the road. So here we have a Liberty Lawn. This one has the gathered back, so you can see that. Pretty cute. And this fabric is a dream to sew. It cuts well. It's lightweight. I really like it. It's kind of expensive, so maybe make an archer in something cheaper first, but Liberty Lawn is a great option. So I get a lot of questions, can I use quilting cotton for my archer? And that's a tough one. So generally I would say no. Quilting cotton doesn't have a great drape or hand. It's woven for quilts, so it makes a great quilt, but doesn't quite hang off the body in a way that you're used to with your garments, or maybe a way that you'd like. The exception is the softer quilting cottons. This is a cotton and steel quilting cotton. I know Ruby Star has a really soft one that I've seen some really nice garments in. So if you're using a soft quilting cotton like that, you're fine. Otherwise, I would maybe stay away from it. All right, now we're moving into some fancy drapey archers. This is a rayon archer. I love this one. It hangs so nicely. I love the way it feels. Highly recommend. For your first one, maybe not. It's a little tricksy to get the collars and the pockets and everything on, but it's really rewarding when you're done. Here we have a silk habitai version. This one feels really great to wear. Has the gathered back, which looks really nice in the silk. Again, a little harder to sew. It's pretty thin. So I would avoid for your first, but definitely an option as you move into more and more archers. Here we have a fun and floaty silk chiffon archer. This is not for your first archer or your first time sewing silk. But if you have experience with both, this is a really fun way to test your skills and get a really cool shirt at the end. I really want to make a black one. One day I'll actually do it. I have the fabric, but I just haven't gotten around to it. But this is a really fun way to sew the archer. Okay, so that is it for day one of the archer video sew along. I hope you found that information useful and you're just as excited as I am to sew up your own button-up shirt. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Our next lesson will focus on choosing a size, basic pattern adjustments, and cutting your pattern. So make sure to subscribe to our channel to make sure you don't miss any upcoming videos. I'll see you then. Bye!